Hello, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with Dave from D.A.R Detailing, and we've just got the car out and it's looking absolutely brilliant. So I thought we should have a little Q&A and kind of ask Dave what issues there were and other things along those lines. So Dave, how do you think it came out?
So the car, Jamie's come out absolutely beautifully. It's sitting out in the Cornish sunshine. It's beautifully polished, and it's popping out there. It looks absolutely brilliant. I love working on it.
Love working on it, apart from when you saw the swirl marks.
There was certainly some significant damage on it. It's had quite a hard life, I think, before your ownership. It's had some very harsh washing, perhaps by the dealership. There were a lot of swirl marks, a lot of Cornish head scratches, particularly down the passenger side, which we see a lot here in Cornwall. So yeah, it was a challenge. It took some heavy cutting.
So yes, was that the hardest part of the job, do you think, the actual polishing?
Yeah, the left-hand side of the car, as I said, the Cornish lanes here, always the left-hand side of the car, when they're in and out of the Cornish lanes, get a lot of bush scratches or hedgerow scratches down that side. So that took quite a bit of heavy cutting, and because it's black, it then needed a second refining stage once I'd removed the majority of the surface defects. But it being an Audi as well, it's German, it's tough clear coat. It was very hard to polish, but pleased with the results.
Oh, that's good then. And I've noticed since being here with you, watching the process, IDA. Everything's branded IDA. So can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So the IDA stands for the International Detailing Association. It's a global organisation that brings detailers together, professional detailers that are in the trade, and there's a professional development part of the IDA. You can join as a member or as a supplier if you're into supplying detailing products to the industry. And if you're an operator member, you can then go on to take your certified detailer exams and then have those validated with a practical hands-on assessment, which is an in-person assessment by a recognised independent trainer from the IDA, which is your skills validation part. The CD exams are 10 exams taken online at your leisure. The skills validation is an in-person practical assessment of your skills, chemical knowledge, understanding of professional car care. I love the IDA because it's a very positive, proactive group of detailers. It's a US-based organisation, but there's different chapters around the world. The UK chapter of the IDA is the biggest chapter outside of the United States. It's growing fast. I'm very involved with the IDA because I love it and I love giving back something to the industry. I sit on the board for the UK of the IDA and I chair the IDA certification committee. And it's about giving something back to an industry that I love. Everybody in the IDA is very supportive. There's no silly questions. Every day's a school day. If you come across a problem, it's a safe space online, on the phone, by text message. You can get in contact with somebody to say, hey, have you dealt with this challenge before, or any tips on how to deal with that problem? And you've got very positive, helpful, proactive advice, which you don't always get, particularly on some of the social media groups.
Yeah, I've had that myself on a few of the things that I've posted, and you just get people that just post less than helpful things.
Yeah.
But so how many people are involved in that? Is it something that all detailers should be part of, or is there a process by which people can then go, right, now I'm actually a detailer? Because there's a lot of people, isn't there, that pop up and they start off, and that's fine because you've got to build your way up. But should they jump in and get that help from the IDA as soon as possible, or?
I think so. One of the good things about the IDA is we've just recently developed, driven by the UK actually, is what we called an industry standards task force, which is a global task force where we're looking to create and develop through the existing certified detailer skills validation process a set of core industry standards. So when a client books in with a detailer for paint correction or ceramic coating, they know that there's a base level of competency, of skill set, of knowledge, that detailer is professional, they're insured, they know about the right chemicals, what's safe, what's not. So I think the earlier somebody can get into the IDA in their detailing career, the better, because, as I say, it's a very supportive group and everybody's there to help them. So, yeah, it will really help them elevate their journey and their career within the industry.
And I guess that means that they can, the earlier they get in, the less time they've got to pick up bad habits.
Definitely.
That's one thing, because it's all about the standard, isn't it?
Yes.
Of the work to kind of protect the industry itself.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, to develop and create a base level of industry standard. You know, you can start this industry on a push bike with a bucket and a sponge, and actually, you know, sponges, chamois leathers, drying blades, you know, all very harsh things that I personally don't use on any of my clients' cars. And, you know, it's about educating in a very positive, proactive way. You know, what are the core set of industry standards that enable somebody to safely and professionally care for a client's car? Well, one of the things that our UK chapter president, Craig, did in the start of lockdown 1, so about March 2020, was, you know, because detailing is generally a very lonely industry, people work on their own a lot, we created a monthly call, or Craig created a monthly call on Zoom, where detailers from all over the country just come in once a month and chat detailing, personal stuff, you know, whatever's going on in their world when they're not perhaps operating due to COVID shutdown, or they're working on their own. And that has really grown. We've now got detailers from all over Europe joining that call every single month, and it's a great space to, you know, network, and I've made some fantastic friends and colleagues within the industry as a result of that.
And that's the thing with detailing, isn't it? Because usually you have a little unit, you're in there on your own, you do the work on your own, and the only time you really talk to a customer is when they drop it off.
Yeah.
And they tell you what they want, and
Yeah.
then when they pick it up.
Yeah.
It's not like, because I've been with you for a few hours the last few days, it's very rare, isn't it, that you actually have someone there in the way as such.
Totally, yeah. And usually when I'm polishing a car, you know, I might spend you know, anything from sort of 8 to 20 hours of, you know, or more sometimes, polishing by machine. You know, generally the headphones are on and I'm listening to podcasts or music, or, you know, because it is a very
anything to
lonely...
while away the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, those headphones act as ear protection.
Yeah.
You know, because there is, you know, a PPE requirement in the job when you're handling, you know, chemicals and you're polishing and there's dust. You know, you need to think about all the, you know, hand, respiratory, you know, hearing protection as part of that as well.
So Dave, you've been talking about the IDA. How did you actually get into it? Was it something that you just came across and found, or were you invited in, or how does it work?
Good question. So I've been a member for many years of the UK Trade Association, which is called PVD, Professional Valeters and Detailers Association, and I sat my PVD approved process a couple of years back, which involved taking a 100-question written exam and then practical assessments on how to safely care for the exterior and the interior of a vehicle. The exam has questions in it about dilution rates and chemical use and lots of other areas of professional car care, and it got my cogs turning in my head in a way that, you know, I quite like, and I really enjoyed taking that exam. So I actually then joined the IDA because I wanted to take my certified detailer exams, which I said earlier is, you know, 10 exams, each with about 10 to 20 questions taken online, because the Pro Valeters and Detailers assessment process excited me to do more professional development. So yeah, while we're talking about the IDA, Jamie, there's a few bits there which be nice for you to take away. A few bits of IDA merchandise. There's a air freshener for your freshly detailed car, coaster lanyard, and an IDA pen.
Thank you very much. So Dave, the most expensive car you've ever done? Because obviously my Audi S4, lovely car, but I'm sure you've laid your hands on stuff that is probably a lot more money.
You know, it's a question that I often get asked, and quite honestly, for me and us here at D.A.R Detailing, it doesn't matter whether it's a Ford Focus or a Ferrari. It's a client's pride and joy if they've booked it in with me. So it's important it gets the full, D.A.R detailing treatment. Probably the most expensive car I've detailed has been one of the Ferraris that we've done. But in reality, the most expensive vehicle I've ever worked on actually was a digger. It was touching £300,000 of value. Some of these diggers are
Mega,
pretty phenomenal. I mean, the wheels were taller than my van. But yeah, car probably one of the Ferraris we've done. Most expensive vehicle, actually a bit of plant equipment.
I'll tell you what, some of the commercial stuff, you can't wrap your head around just how expensive they are.
Insane.
Tractors, anything like that. You look at it and you don't think about it, do you? You see a nice Bentley go along, you go, wow.
Yeah.
But actually, the tractor's worth 3 of them.
Yeah.
It's just madness.
Yeah.
So how long have you been detailing?
I've been detailing. Well, what do you call detailing? I mean, some people will say, well, you're only a detailer if you open the fuel flap and make sure you clean inside.
Yeah. And you told me a funny story about that, which is you have these little cards when you're doing assessments. Is that right?
Yeah, through PVD, when we do, because we're a newly formed PVD assessment centre for other detailers taking their PVD approved process. PVD have created these little cards that says if you find me, hand back to your assessor, and we hide them in various places in the car and on the outside of the car to make sure that people get extra points if they open the fuel flap and clean inside. And there's the card that says,
because obviously when it comes to detailing, the most important thing is the little touches, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you have any little tricks that you do yourself, like certain things that you go, I absolutely have to do that?
Things like dropping the sun visors and making sure that the mirrors, the vanity mirrors, are clean, dropping the window, and just making sure that the edge after you've cleaned the glass is clean. In fact, I do that first and then bring the window back up. Yeah, there's lots of little bits that you pick up. Exhaust tips. I mean, your exhaust tips are back to silver now.
They've not been silver since I've had the car,
They were pretty much part of your black pack before because they were full of soot and carbon. But
I got some good shots of that, and yeah, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah,
You're putting your little brush up there.
Yeah,
and it's bringing out so much.
And it's such a shame to spend many hours professionally detailing a car, machine polishing it, correcting the paint, ceramic coating it for protection, and then not polishing exhaust tips that should be a shiny silver chrome. So yeah, there's lots of little bits.
And that's the thing, isn't it? A customer, you could do everything right, but if you miss that one thing and they put their hands on it and they go, oh, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
It lets down the whole experience, doesn't it?
Totally.
But I did see, because you had your worksheet out yesterday.
Yeah.
And that was quite interesting because it just had everything you've done so far ticked off so that you know exactly where you've been. Because I know when I wash my car myself, I'm walking around it and I'm like, did I do that? I know that I did that panel, but did I do that panel? And I always forget. So obviously that's where the worksheet comes in, isn't it?
Yeah, I use that because it keeps me on track of, particularly when I'm polishing and ceramic coating, where I'm up to. But I have a certain work methodology, a certain workflow that makes the process as efficient as possible. But I do have a literally a hard copy tick sheet where I've got every process laid out on a spreadsheet, and when I'm doing applying the base coat of ceramic, for example, I will tick off by panel which panel I've done and put a time down so I know the cure times before I put the top coat on.
Okay, talking of ceramic, how do I look after it now it's clean?
Yeah, great question. So ceramic coating does require maintenance. One thing I would say is don't wax your car. Okay. If you're the type of person that likes to, get out at the weekend, give it a valet and a safe wash, and you like applying wax, do not wax the car. Waxing the car will, potentially clog the ceramic coating and stop it doing what it should be doing, because what we call your LSP, your last step protection, is then actually the wax, not the ceramic. But the ceramic coated car does require some maintenance. Particularly, I know where you live and work. You're down in Looe, and there's a lot of contamination around in Looe. You're right on the beach. You've got salt air, you've got sand on windy days, you've got the dreaded seagulls, and all the mess that.
And which is the worst out of all of that, do you think?
Seagulls.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute, because that's something I need to cover with you. But basically, make sure that you do a proper, decent pre-wash before you make contact with the paint when you're washing. So a snow foam pre-wash or an APC or.
And before we go further as well, I'm just thinking. So I know when I'm washing the car, like I know which stages I go through with what kind of products. Now that the ceramic's on, I don't want to touch stuff like decon, do I?
No, you will need to decontaminate the coating over time. Depending on how many miles you do, where you park it, what sort of contamination the coachwork on the car receives or bonds to, you will need to decontaminate the car from time to time in order to unclog and free up the coating to do what it does best. But that's the type of thing that you need to think about doing, maybe once or twice a year, rather than every wash. Before.
But is there anything that I shouldn't put on it apart from the wax? So say I'm going for my usual wash process.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I shouldn't put on it because it will take the coating away?
There isn't anything that will remove that coating in terms of products that you apply, other than very heavy alkalines or very heavy acids.
Okay.
So in the chemical range, we refer to the pH scale. pH 7 is neutral. Anything with a very low pH value is an acid, and anything with a very high pH is an alkaline. At each end of that spectrum, heavy alkalines or heavy acids will degrade that coating much quicker.
So is it worth having a pH neutral snow foam?
Yes.
Is that what you would... So say I got home, had a little bit of crap on it from the dust and whatever else from the road. Should I then get the pH neutral snow foam out and then wash from there and then do that?
Ideally, yes. The surface is now completely protected with the ceramic coating. It's got a very slick surface on the paint now, so contamination, dirt and grime isn't going to bond to that clear coat, that lacquer on the paint, anything like it did before it was protected. So it will take longer to get dirty, but when you do wash it,
should come off quicker.
It will be quicker. The dirt will fall away a lot easier. You won't have to rub so much when you do the contact wash, which in turn then preserves the finish of the paint that we've polished. But a pH neutral snow foam, in 9 cases out of 10 is going to be enough to get the car back to a clean, respectable standard as far as the pre-wash is concerned, because of that ceramic coating protection. There's nothing wrong with using an alkaline snow foam, but just make sure for example, this has all been coated with Garage Therapy ceramic coatings. We've used Garage Therapy products in the chemical range for the wet work and the decontamination. If you use the Garage Therapy snow foam, that's actually a fairly high alkaline on the pH scale. There's nothing wrong with that, but stick to the dilution rates.
Okay.
Read the bottle, stick to the dilution rates. For regular cleaning, 20 mil for about 450 millilitres of water in a snow foam lance is more than adequate to get the car pretty clean in the pre-wash stage. When you're putting 20 mil in your foam bottle, you might think, oh, that's not a lot, glug, 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 and your temptations to go more, you don't need to.
Okay.
You're wasting product, and the pH level of that product is then increasing.
It's stronger per the mil.
Indeed, and has the potential to then start to degrade the coating quicker than if you used a pH neutral product.
Okay, so my biggest things, obviously, where I live, is sand
Yeah.
and seagull poo.
Yes.
Sand. Best way to get rid of sand, I'm guessing, is during the snow foaming, because with the ceramic coating on, it won't stick to it as much as it would when it came in before.
Yes.
So I should be able to get most of that off.
Definitely.
But the seagull poo is different, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. So, you know, with sand, it's an abrasive. So you don't want to rub. You don't want to make contact with the paint while the sand is on. You want to remove the sand without contact. So contactless wash, as you said, Jamie, a snow foam pre-wash, pressure rinse will remove that sand. It will soften in the foam, will bring it to the surface, and then when you pressure rinse, it will leave the vehicle ready for a safe contact wash, so you haven't got any abrasives that are then going to scratch. Seagull poo is a completely different ball game. Your car's black. As we said earlier, it's sitting out there in the Cornish sunshine. If I went out and touched that panel, it would be too hot to touch now, and we're only at 20 degrees. In the height of the summer, down on the seafront in Looe, when that car's parked up, if a seagull does its business on it, the water, the moisture in that seagull poo is going to dissolve very quickly, almost instantly on contact. What that leaves is a very, very heavy acidic mess on your car. The clear coat and the paint is protected as a result of the ceramic coating, but of course the seagull, the acidic nature of what's left in the seagull poo can actually then damage the ceramic coating. And if it's left on too long, will eventually just burn through, will eat through the ceramic and potentially damage the clear coat and then into the paint. So my best advice is, I'm going to mix you up a little bottle of goodies to put in the back with a couple of microfiber cloths. If you get seagull poo on your car, get it off as quickly as you can. The best way to do that is make sure it's soft, saturate it with the product that I'm going to give you, or even with water, get it soft and wipe very gently, because if they've been eating some berries, some of those skins are quite scratchy.
Yeah. So should we actually just change the seagulls' diets? Should we give them something that's less acidic?
Yeah, well, it's a bit difficult. The tourists in Looe, they feed them all sorts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Dave, my last question. What is the hardest job you've ever had to do? So even if it's on that one, you're more than welcome to say, or if it's on something else, what was your hardest job where you just sat there going, why did I take this on?
Yours is up there.
Is it top 10 or top 5 or?
Certainly top 5, probably top 2.
Wow.
No, it was. I mean, it doesn't look like it now because it looks amazing, but it was up there with, you know, one of the toughest jobs. The amount of defects in the paint were significant and was quite a challenge.
More than what you thought it was going to be.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. The hardest job probably was a VW, a fairly recent one, a VW California. So it's a van. It was white and red, white on the top, red from the swage line from the windows down. The bonnet was white. A bit like mini roofs, the whole van is painted white on the production line, and then the red is applied on top. So the red was much thicker than the white sections when we did our paint depth gauge readings. I'd priced the job for the client based on a single stage enhancement detail for the coachwork, so a single stage of machine polishing, and the customer was investing his money into the durability and the ceramic coating. The red sections of that vehicle were really, really tough. Your clear coat, being a German paint and being an Audi, is hard. Obviously, that's also part of the VAG group, the Volkswagen Audi group. This was a VW. It was super, super hard. I hit it with my go-to pad polish combination. It didn't touch it. There were still swirl marks certainly much more noticeable in the red sections. I stepped it up to a heavier pad polish combination. Didn't really make any significant difference. I then stepped the pad up again now to a wall pad, so probably one of the most aggressive pads on the end of the machine polisher that you can use. Made some improvement, but I wasn't happy with the results. So I actually ended up having to sand by machine all of the red around the whole vehicle in order to get any level of defect removal, and that automatically then meant at least 2 stages of machine polishing thereafter. A heavy cut to remove the sanding marks caused by the sanding process, and then a second stage of refining to remove the haziness and the milkiness that the heavy cut first stage put into the paint. So yeah, it was a very, very challenging job, one that I didn't foresee. I wasn't expecting it, but you know, it's all about trying to delight the customers, and we needed to crack on and get it done.
So Dave, if I came along one day and I said, look, I've got a VW California I want doing,
I would think very, very carefully about taking another VW California on.
would you get it in and have a proper look before you start?
I would do a test spot
Yeah.
before I then price the job. Without that, I've learned from it. You know, as I said earlier, every day's a school day. You know, been detailing for some years, but still learning every day. So I would learn from that experience, and I would do a test spot.
What's the weirdest thing you've come across while detailing a car? Is there anything that you've come across and you've gone, what is that? Or why is that there?
I need to be a bit careful here, because I come across all sorts of things, including, you know, clients' personal possessions in cars. So I need to respect their privacy. I came across a mouse nest in the engine bay of a car.
Really?
That was a daily driver.
Wow.
I've you know, found all sorts of weird and wonderful things inside clients' cars, which I won't talk about on camera. But it's, you know, just about respecting the client's
Having that level of
privacy
professionalism.
and professionalism. Yeah. Yeah, you see all sorts.
Yeah.
You see all sorts.
So I think we actually talked about it earlier. How long have you been detailing? I think we ended up talking about something else.
I've been detailing professionally, let's see, 8 years now. Started professionally part-time in 2014, and then worked my way through to a full-time detailer, and then got these business premises down here in southeast Cornwall. I've been involved in car care as an enthusiast for about 30 years. And you know, when I look back at some of the products and the types of detailing arsenal that was available 30 years ago compared to now, as the industry has grown and developed,
It's just exploded, isn't it?
yeah, and it, you know, I'd chuckle and I look back and think, oh crikey, did I used to look after my car using that? But yeah, about 8 years professionally, about 30 years as an enthusiast.
Well, I think that's everything covered. Just a little Q&A, kind of talking about a few different things, my car, other cars, and the IDA, and just everything really around detailing. Because I think there's a lot of people that like to wash their cars, and it's good for them to see the personal side of people that detail. Because there's a lot of detailers out there, isn't there? But you don't really get to know them. You don't get to know what their story is. You don't get to know kind of what they're doing really behind the scenes. So I think it's been nice to actually be able to see that going on.
Yeah, it's been great chatting to you, Jamie.
And also just kind of, yeah, it's just been nice, like, to chat to you as you're doing it. It's just interesting to see, because I've got I'd say a baseline knowledge of the basic stuff. You know, I've jumped in a couple of times and said, oh, is it because of this? Because it's kind of pinged in my brain like, oh, I've heard that somewhere. Or shout out to Roger from Garage Therapy.
Hi, Rog. Hi, Maz.
He's always on to me about, he's like, God, your car was dirty in that video you did. I know, Roger, I'll get onto it, don't worry. Or, as I'm looking at the buckets over there, the grit guards.
Yeah.
He's told me for the last probably 3 years to get grit guards in my buckets.
Yeah.
So I haven't done it. I'll have to do it now.
Yeah.
I'll have to do it now.
Yes,
I've got
yes,
the car
definitely.
nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just good to actually see it all in action, you know, rather than me just doing it at home and kind of doing a substandard job as such, to see it all done properly, professionally, and really see the results, because the car does look absolutely stunning. And considering what you had to work with, I think both of us are over the moon.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jamie. It's been So it's been a challenge, but it looks absolutely stunning, doesn't it?
So we'll end the video there, guys. Thanks to Dave again for the work that he's done. It's been absolutely unbelievable. And the result, as you can see, is just immense. I might end up, I'll probably get my first bit of seagull peel in there and drive straight up and be like, Dave, what do I do?
Well, you know, it doesn't end today. You know, you're one of my clients, Jamie, so, you know, you've got my phone number. If ever you have a challenge like that, feel free to ring me or drop me a message or, you know, ping me an email or whatever.
Thank you, Dave. And thank you for watching as well for the last few videos. And please do subscribe to the channel as well. And also check D.A.R Detailing out. Do you want to plug all of your pages?
Well, we're on, I haven't quite mastered TikTok yet. Although I think I've got a channel, but don't worry about that for now. I need to. I'm a bit old. I'm north of 50 now, so some of this stuff's learning curve for me there. We're on Facebook, D.A.R Detailing, Instagram, DAR_detailing. We have got a little YouTube channel. Website is www.dardetailing.com. info@dardetailing.com is my email address. All my phone numbers and messaging systems are all available on the social media platforms and on my website. Feel free to get in touch. More than happy to help, even if it's just to give you a bit of advice or help with a problem, or you want to book in.
Perfect. Well, thank you for watching. Please do all of that. Check him out and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much, and I shall see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.